Signal 2-3. Anti-American forces, or AAF, are actively organizing kinetic resistance against blue forces and attempting to degrade or destroy interurban law enforcement efforts to maintain peaceable order in affected communities. All those uniformed or otherwise operating in known gang-affiliated territories should engage in greater than usual caution when conducting operations in those areas. Anti-American forces are increasing their cohesion, unifying and adjusting their operating model to target civil authorities. Significant date: September 17, 2020. Location: the White House, Washington, D.C. Activity: organized protest. The actors: Occupy Wall Street threat forces and other anti-American actors. Note: given America has become a semi-permissive battle space, significant dates and their associated activities should be kept in mind, given possible upticks in crime and social unrest often related to dates and events. Anti-American Forces, or AAF, organized under the well-known 2011 banner of Occupy Wall Street, intend to occupy the White House beginning September 17, 2020. Their message, quote, "It's been 9 years since we set off the political earthquake of Occupy Wall Street, laying siege to New York City's Zuccotti Park and inspiring thousands of similar protests around the world." The Post reads, "The Occupy anniversary arrives September 17, 2020, and it may be the perfect day to trigger another global Big Bang moment, a massive collective action of the sweetest kind of disobedience," end quote. Caution should be used in the vicinity of the protests, and consideration should be given that other similar protests may erupt in city centers across the nation where support for anti-American forces is heavy in influence. Training Circular. Note: anti-American forces, or AAF, aligned with neo-Marxists, are true believers and will often pronounce their beliefs through physical adornment, tagging, and social confrontation. AAF are operating across every spectrum and in every community. These individuals are confrontational and can, and often does, pose both physical and legal dangers to civilians, blue forces, patriots, and other nationals across neighborhoods, and American communities at large. The threat level is elevated at this time. If targeted by these AAF, remain calm, protect life, disengage, and report any instances involving crime to the local authorities. From ForwardObserver.com, an Antifa pamphlet, Portland-based anti-fascist group Popular Mobilization released 40 Ways to Fight Fascists, Street Legal Tactics for Community Activists, a guide for other far-left groups to mature and refine their tactics. The guide outlines financial platforms and local governments to exclusively support their cause. Most notably, the guide further instructs budding insurgencies to establish emergency response teams, build legal networks, and carry weapons at all protests. This is an opinion piece called "The Connection Between BLM and Islam." The author is Karen Hardin. From the article: but Marxism isn't the only political ideology using African Americans for their own agenda. Islam has also proudly made the claim as well, as they work to manipulate the black community for their own purpose. Author and lecturer Avi Lipkin links the destruction of historical American monuments to the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is a group connected to Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, and Black Lives Matter. According to Lipkin, Islamic leaders boast of how they use black Americans to be the first to, quote, take the fall for Allah, as they work to convince them that fighting the whites, Jews, the Christians, America is beneficial to them, end quote. In reality, it is beneficial to Islam. Hamas leader Nihad Awad, co-founder and CEO of Council on American Islamic Relations, spoke at the Messina Convention where he instructed other Hamas members, quote, "We have to invest in the political process. You have to build relations. You have to run for public office. 2016, minorities will play a major role in Black Lives Matter. It is our campaign," end quote. There is an unholy alliance behind Black Lives Matter and Antifa, Marxism and Islam, and even other governments intent on bringing down America as they use the offense and naivete of the social justice movement to create chaos and destruction. The connections between Black Lives Matter to Antifa, Islam, Marxism, and their goal to overthrow the American government is clear by their own words, but other governments are also manipulating the movement for their own aggression against America. According to the Ukrainian Weekly, Russia also has its hooks in the actions of BLM and Antifa. Quote, "The anarcho-communist movement is decentralized, composed of small cells, some of whom openly vow to engage in an armed struggle to trigger a civil war to abolish the current system and replace it with communism. Although they claim to be anti-fascists, they are fascism personified. Despite abundant evidence that neo-Marxists have a hand in these protests and riots, very few have been willing to expose the truth. Mainstream media portray them as a well-meaning alliance of idealists who are seeking nothing more than to thwart the evils of right-wing fascism. Although the Black Lives Matter movement has become mainstream, it is unfortunate that so many well-intentioned Black and other good people have been duped into helping achieve Antifa's nefarious ends. The recent riots have little to do with race and everything to do with regime change and revolution," end quote, end of article. Report dated 10 August 20 from the New Jersey Department of Homeland Security and Preparedness. An intelligence report from Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, on July 14, 2020 stated that it is investigating a connection between anti-fascist activists, or Antifa, and terrorists affiliated to Syria. According to the report titled "The Syrian Conflict and Its Nexus to the U.S.-Based Anti-Fascist Movement," more than half a dozen individuals who were affiliated with different far-left causes and groups visited Syria to support and fight alongside Kurdish factions. Among the factions listed, none were identified as terrorist groups by the U.S. Department of State. From the open source reporting, it appears that this was an isolated instance and not a repeated effort by Antifa members. The report also noted that while Antifa and these Kurdish factions may have some shared ideology, nothing supported that a centralized foreign effort was made to control Antifa affiliates after they returned to the United States. Antifa is described as a loosely based group, and no self-identified members have been charged with killing anyone. However, President Donald Trump proposed designating the group as a terrorist organization in May, end quote, end of report. An addendum to that report is that on 29 August 2020, Antifa member Michael Reinoehl killed Aaron Danielson during the Portland riot. On 3 September 2020, Antifa member Michael Reinoehl was shot and killed by the Pacific Northwest Violent Offenders Task Force, which included members of the U.S. Marshal Service when the task force attempted to apprehend Reinoehl. According to the left-wing publication The Nation, the report states, quote, "Antifa is being analyzed under the 2019 Department of Homeland Security Strategic Framework for Countering Terrorism and Targeted Violence. The Nation quotes an individual who previously worked on Department of Homeland Security intelligence as the source of the provided intelligence report. From the article, in June 2020, U.S. Customs and Border Protection's National Training Center Counter Network Division compiled CBP and counter data on individuals who returned from Syria and fought with the Yekinean Palestina Gel or YPG, which in translation is People's Protection Units, and had some with reported ties to U.S.-based Antifa or anti-fascist movement. CBP concerns about and interest in these individuals stem from the types of skills and motivations that may have been developed during their time overseas in foreign conflicts. The intelligence report describes over half a dozen people who traveled to Syria to fight alongside Kurdish factions, usually the YPG, but also other Kurdish groups like the PKK and the Peshmerga, end quote. Now, this is a list, or this is a glimpse, rather, of the Black Lives Matter war chest. The following is a list of major brands contributing to Black Lives Matter / racial equity and justice / legal aid / other political and social activist groups. It's a bit extensive. Google, 12 million. Facebook, 10 million. Amazon, 10 million. Apple, 100 million. Walmart, 100 million. Target, 10 million. Home Depot, 1 million. EA, which is gaming, 1 million. Square Enix, 250,000. Ubisoft, another gaming, 100,000. Etsy, 1 million. H&M, 500,000. Everlane, 75,000. Tom's Shoes, 100,000. Spanx, 200,000. Levi's, 200,000. Combined Gap brands of Athleta, Old Navy, and Gap, 250,000. Warby Parker, 1 million. Lululemon, 250,000. Nike, 40 million. McDonald's, 1 million. Wendy's, 500,000. Coca-Cola, 2.5 million. Honest Beauty, 100,000. Anastasia Beauty, 1 million. Glossier, 1 million. United Health Group, 5 million, plus 10 million to George Floyd's children. Whoop, 20,000. Peloton, 500,000. Cliff Bar, 100,000. Cisco, 5 million. Ritz Crackers and their sister brands Oreo, Trident, and Chips Ahoy, 500,000. Degree, 100,000. DoorDash, 500,000. Slack, 1 million. Vans Incorporated, 50,000. The Wing, 200,000. Pokemon Company International, 100,000. Bravado is matching employee donations to Black Lives Matter. Workspace, 500,000. Biossance, 100,000. This actually is almost $400 million worth of war chest for Black Lives Matter. Now, this is a list of companies that support Black Lives Matter, but from whom I haven't yet been able to find a monetary amount. Grubhub, TikTok, IMB, Microsoft, Airbnb, A16Z, Bumble, DocuSign, Ease, Grindr, IBM, Matchstick Ventures, Niantic, Reddit, Robinhood, Salesforce, Shopify, Snap, Uber, Tectonic, and Intel. So, 3 thoughts that I leave with you from Lunchbox. Optic, the present state of affairs in the United States. This is all political theater. Innocent victims paraded for effect, violence committed by street thugs and dupes. Who organizes them? Who sets the stage and why? Who organizes the organizers? Who feeds them, grooms them, gives them orders and ideals? Who hunts you? Who lays traps before you? Cancer is spreading. Do you treat the symptoms or kill the disease? The tracks and trails that need to be followed to their sources are all the crumbs and sign afforded by human behavior and our study of it. What's needed can be found in the exercise and expressions of the hunt. Our most formidable self can be found in those expressions of our ancestral DNA and those behaviors and instincts the pressures of time and a violent and turbulent world have carved in us. From Thomas Paine. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be so highly rated. Thomas Paine wrote pamphlets at the start of the Revolutionary War to energize the patriots who were fed up with British tyranny. Our coming decisions will be no less consequential. There has been a concerted effort to destroy our country from the foundation up and turn it into a socialist state. Our very history is being destroyed and eliminated before our eyes. The very things that constituted our country, from our morals to our ethics to our values, are being degraded and eroded away. It has taken at least 58 years that I'm aware of to bring us to this point. Our adversaries use Mao's concept of the long march, that their goals will be reached as they steadily move forward toward their objectives regarding our country. Remember, as Barack Obama said, they wish to fundamentally transform our country. Our adversaries, the supporters of Obama and Biden and the rest, patiently wait, knowing that time is on their side, but Americans will fight. We'll have to fight. Our adversaries have planned for conflict around this coming election, which is upon us in less than 60 days. Americans will respond. I will do what I can right now in this capacity. I will do my best to be as accurate as possible. My goal for this channel is the dissemination of information and words of wisdom and encouragement. If I make mistakes, I'll tell you. If you point out mistakes, I will acknowledge them on this channel publicly. With that, I leave you with wisdom from Sonny Barger from his book, Freedom. Knowledge is out there, but it don't come to you served on a bun. Admit to yourself when you're in the dark. Don't go fumbling around in it, acting like a tough guy, or worse yet, a smart guy. There's nothing wrong with saying 3 simple words, I don't know. Thank you, Sonny. Until next time, head on a swivel. Signal 2-3.